CBS 46 News presents Public Affairs on Peach.
When you pick up that morning coffee and you have that good cup, you know what? Have you ever wondered where that coffee comes from? Probably not, but the coffee industry is big business across the globe. And we found a Georgia-based company trying to revolutionize the way coffee gets to your table. Good morning to you. Welcome to Public Affairs on Peach. I'm your host, Adam Murphy. One group is trying to change the way the coffee industry does business, one cup at a time. Thrive Farmers wants to cut out the middleman and have you get your coffee directly from farmers. Bart Newman joins us now. He's the vice president of Thrive. Thank you so much for being on the show. Good to see you.
Good morning, Adam. Thanks for letting us be here.
And we go way back.
We do go back.
We've played some tennis together years ago, and then you went to the University of Georgia as well as myself.
As did you.
So now you are up and running and you have this brand new concept. Tell us about what you're doing.
Thrive. Thrive is a really great venture. Thrive is a platform to improve the lives of farmers across the globe. We try to create a marketplace for farmers, almost like a farmer's market, so that farmers can directly partner with consumers and great brands for the best cup of coffee in the world.
Why is that? Are the farmers kind of being left out, like they're the ones doing the work here with the coffee beans and maybe not reaping the rewards?
That's exactly right, Adam. There's two major problems in coffee today. The first is that most farmers don't have access to the infrastructure to get their coffee to a marketplace. So what does that mean? That means that they basically have to sell their coffee at the edge of their farm. So then they sell it to something called a coyote, which is typically a broker. But then that broker sells it to a wet mill, and that wet mill sells it to a dry mill, and that's sold to an exporter, which is sold to an importer, which is sold to another broker in the United States, then to a roaster in the United States, and then to a brand, and then to consumers.
And somewhere in there, farmer gets lost, it sounds like to me.
The farmer, revenue is being made all along this buying and selling back and forth, but the farmer doesn't get any of it.
Wow.
So we try to do something to stop that. The other problem is the commodities markets. Most people don't know that coffee is the second most widely traded commodity in the world.
Wow.
And the commodity markets go up and down. They're very volatile. Mm-hmm. And this whipsawing of the commodities markets really is hard on farmers. So think about this. If you're a farmer, you can produce the same quality coffee year in, year out, but they can wake up one morning and the commodity market tells them that this coffee is worth 30% less than it was just the year before. Thrive was started to create an alternative to all this. We wanted to make farmers partners in coffee, and we give farmers a direct and predetermined share of the revenue of their coffee, which does two great things. First, it makes them make more money. Our farmers make 3 times as much, 5 times as much, sometimes 10 times as much more money.
Wow.
But even more importantly, they get predictability, which is something they don't have. They can invest in their farms, they can invest in their families, they can invest in their communities.
And we're looking at some footage right here, probably of some of those farmers, right? You got your website on the screen, thrivefarmers.com. Tell us what we're looking at here on the video.
Oh, this is a farmer that's actually showing the end result green bean. So coffee starts as a red cherry and it goes through a processing piece, so a wet mill and a dry mill, and then eventually to a exportable green. And the benefit of Thrive, as I was kind of saying before, is that we make it possible for the farmers to keep ownership of their beans until it leaves the water to the U.S. Because of that, all this buying and selling doesn't take place. We remove these unneeded middlemen in the supply chain of coffee. It allows farmers to keep more of their money.
And tell me where a lot of these farmers are located. I mean, in that video we saw some, and so you're saying they're overseas in many cases, these farmers, right?
That's right.
And then the beans actually get here to the United States. But where are they? Where are they doing their farming?
All coffee farming basically takes place between the tropics, all over the globe. Okay. Most of our farmers come from Central America, so Costa Rica, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, which is kind of the gold standard of coffee. So when we spend time with our farmers and go to our farmers and promote their coffee here in the United States, those are the farmers that we're usually focused on.
What are the farmers saying about this new concept that you guys have started?
You know, the farmers they're humbled by it. They're grateful for it. They've never been connected with the consumers of their coffee. What's the craziest thing, Adam, is they never get to drink their coffee for the most part because it's too expensive for them to hold. They have to export it. So when they actually talk to somebody that has had their coffee, that has drank their coffee, the first thing is, do you like it? And they love to hear that it's actually liked and is enjoyed.
Well, you know, there's, I'm sure, nothing greater for any farmer, somebody to say, man, that's really good, right? What you're growing is fantastic and it's doing so well. You know, people are buying it up and they're now reaping the rewards, which is really great.
It is.
And so tell me a little bit about your concept. Is it a fairly new idea? How long have you been doing this?
Not long. So I guess by now it's 4 years is officially a Thrive. This started by a Costa Rican farmer named Ken Lander and a bunch of small farmers in Costa Rica that were trying to survive in coffee. They were on the farm just trying to make a living, and they were struggling to do so. So they started this cooperative to go this farmer direct model, this farm to table model with coffee. And they started doing it in Costa Rica, and it worked. And it started to expand, and it worked so much that a entrepreneur here in the U.S. that had a dad was a coffee farmer, Michael Jones, heard about it, went down there, and came and started learning about their model and said, this is the answer. This is the answer to what's wrong in coffee. Come with me to the United States and we can change coffee together. And
you talked, Bart, you mentioned, Bart, about the tropics. It looks like we're seeing some video in the tropics right now, right? What are we looking at here?
It's beautiful. These are coffee farms. The red cherries there, that's the fruit of coffee. That's how it's picked from the tree. All coffee is hand-picked, if you can believe it or not.
Wow.
It takes a farmer one day, a picker, to pick 250 pounds of coffee, which essentially makes 29 to 30 pounds of roasted coffee. Can you imagine the work, the intensity of that? And it's not all flat. This is all coffee is grown in high in shade and high altitude, so it's very mountainous. So you're walking and picking among some very steep and sometimes difficult terrain.
Can't imagine how tough their hands must be. The hand picking, obviously from these, pulling the coffee beans off and so forth. It's got to be tough on your hands as a farmer.
Adam, it is. You look at their hands; they're weathered. They're people that work with the earth, that are connected to the earth, and but the truth is they have passion for it.
Yeah.
We would say in the U.S. consider that sometimes busy work or somehow something that we wouldn't want to do. They love it and have passion for it.
So you've brought some of this for us today to actually taste, right?
Yeah.
And so give me an idea here before we go to break, some of the coffee that you brought and where it's from.
Yes, so we brought some coffees from Guatemala, from Costa Rica, El Corazon, a great full-bodied coffee that you'll like, and we have a lot of different great offers from Red Rooster to a bunch of other ones that are really terrific.
Awesome, Bart. You did a great job, and stay with us because we're going to talk to you again throughout the show, but very good information. Just getting started. As you're enjoying your cup of coffee, you're going to love this half hour. Coming up, we're talking about the impact of this company globally, why lots of coffee growers worldwide are jumping on board to ensure their piece of the pie. More on Thrive Farmers coming up right after the break here on Public Affairs on Peach.